Tonight, thieves break into the Best Buy branch on Bridge Street. Class is back in session, but the president of the PTA is giving the Entrepot Secondary School a failing grade, and the government is called on to do its part for the health of the nation. We have the details of these stories and more coming up.
This is the Hot 7 Nightly News with Lovelace and Amy Joseph.
Good night. It is Thursday, the 14th of November, 2019. Welcome to the Hot 7 TV Nightly News on Flow Channel 117, also on Kiss FM Radio, on our website www.caribbeanhottv.com, our free Caribbean Hot FM mobile app, and our Caribbean Hot TV Facebook page. I'm lovely Saint Amy Joseph. Thank you for joining us. Bandits have struck yet again. This time around, the Best Buy store at Bridge Street was targeted and items were stolen. An armed robbery at a mini-mart over the weekend that led to the death of the owner. Another armed robbery on Tuesday at a bar in Grand Riviere where a police officer was disarmed. On Thursday, a break-in discovered at the Best Buy Bridge Street branch. Fortunately for staff, the break-in took place when no one was around. Store manager Anselma Charles spoke with Hot 7 TV News.
This morning when we came in around 8:45, we saw the door was ajar and the chain was still stuck and one side was open. Somebody broke it out. I can't tell you what time that occurred.
Charles says owners and staff of business places are on edge given the current crimes and the customary and expected year-end spike in theft and robberies. She says police will have a tall order on their hands.
You should take now to protect your own business.
I think the police has to play a major role into these crimes that happen, and they're doing a very good job. It's just that it's so rampant these days that they can't be everywhere at the same time. And business places and homes supposed to invest in cameras and proper security measures. And then I think that wouldn't be safer enough, but that's just a start. And then we'll take it from there.
She had this advice for businesses to help safeguard their property and their lives.
Invest into high security cameras, spend the money and invest into cameras and security personnel as well, and employ persons to secure their properties and even your homes as well. Everybody should have cameras installed into their homes and businesses and employ security persons.
Police are investigating the matter. The manager noticed that a liquor shelf was raided but says the matter was turned over to the police immediately. The full scope of the robbery will be determined during the police investigation. In other news, a freak accident took place on the John Compton Highway on Thursday, leaving one pedestrian in excruciating pain and a driver in a state of emotional distress. Eyewitnesses told Hot 7 TV News that from their vantage point, it seemed like the accident was caused by misjudgment on the part of both the driver and the pedestrian. The woman was attempting to cross the street near Serenity Park when she was hit. Emergency responders were called to the scene while members of the public offered their assistance. The woman was crying out in pain and was eventually transported to the Victoria Hospital for treatment. We are unable to give any official information on the extent of her injuries, but they did not appear to be life-threatening. Everything went according to plan with getting the Entrepot, Bocage, and Sir Ira Simmons schools to resume classes today, Thursday. However, the president of the Parent-Teacher Association still gave the Entrepot Secondary School a failing grade following her walkthrough of the facility. Solange Alfred tells us more.
Teachers and students of the 3 secondary schools recently closed to facilitate mold remediation have returned to school as mandated by the Ministry of Education. President of the Parent Teachers Association at the Entrepot Secondary School, Jennifer Jolie, says with the Christmas season approaching, parents will be monitoring to ensure that systematic cleanup and infrastructural repairs are undertaken where needed. Jolie also delivered a failing grade to the institution following her walkthrough of the school.
I asked for a walkthrough since we wanted to know what was done, what was happening. However, when I was doing the walkthrough, there was this child who was already itchy. So she was sent up to the staff room, not the staff room, the office, the principal's office. I guess her parent will be called for her to be taken away from the school. And I did look at her skin and it was itchy because she had these little bumps already. By then I would hope that during the Christmas vacation, some more work would be done. I'm hoping.
If you had to put a percentage on it, what is the level of satisfaction right now?
About 40%. I wouldn't rate them higher than that.
Meanwhile, teacher at the Endrapo Secondary School and shop steward Kensley Howell says the situation is being continuously examined to ensure safety and security for all. Howell outlined the ideal situation moving forward for the Endrapo Secondary School.
In the future, we want a nice, neat plant. We want an environment that is conducive for work because we know that our working environment is the same environment that our students learn in. So we also want to see the new wing which we have been promised. We know for sure that we will make good use of this new establishment.
He also addressed concerns about Form 5 students losing valuable time during the mold remediation process.
Yes, we were concerned with the amount of time that they have missed, and we are in the process of putting things in place so that they recover, or they have covered all what is required for them to be successful at the CXC level.
The school population was near capacity, with most teachers and students returning to class as scheduled. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Solange Alfred.
Thank you, Solange. The National Youth Council is calling for accountability, transparency and inclusiveness within the education sector. This comes on the heels of the reopening of 3 secondary schools after industrial action by teachers due to poor air quality and mold. Furthermore, the NYC expresses the need to play a bigger part in policy and reports centered on youth rather than solely being presented with decisions once they have already been made.
According to Second Vice President of the National Youth Council, Ajani Labon, a lack of planning by the Ministry of Education is the reason for continued frustration for youth in St. Lucia. Labon clearly laid out major faults within the governing education system on island. He says without vision, St. Lucia's educational pursuits will remain trapped in centuries past.
The fact that at this point the ministry has not expressed or has not been able to indicate a plan for, school infrastructures generally. I think we look at investing or pumping funds into schools every year without a plan as to where do we see our infrastructure in our schools. We don't have an idea as to what should the 21st century school look like. What should the 21st century secondary school, or what should primary instruction look like? What should early childhood development look like? And we don't have an idea. I think a lot of development in this country, and beyond just the ministry and the department, we don't have a clear plan or strategy as to the development of specific aspects of our society.
Adding his voice to the conversation was President of the National Youth Council, Nias Alfred. He provides his take on simple solutions which he says could have been implemented in the interim while remediation works were being carried out to ensure students, specifically Form 5 students, stayed on track moving closer to CXC examinations.
It is very disappointing, to say the very least, that our students have to be missing school. And there are so many simple solutions that if they engage the NYSC, they engage the NSC, that they'll be able to put in place. Sir Ira Simmons is missing school. Sir Ira Simmons is a stone throw away from the Castries Comprehensive Secondary School. Why not put a system in place where after the Castries Comprehensive Secondary School is finished with school, you allow the students of Sir Ira Simmons to come to the school between the hours of 3 and 6 to ensure that they receive the instruction that they require. Same way, Endrapo is not very far from Leon Hess. All these schools are within the purview of the Ministry of Education, and the resources that we already have can be used to actually try to provide some assistance to the students. So I think that there are a lot of things that can be done, that if we were provided an opportunity to probably relay some of these things, that probably would have been able in a position where the school would have been closed down, but our students would still be receiving the instruction that they require.
Supporting Alfred's statements, Labon says it remains clear representation for students may not be present during high-level consultation regarding their futures, notwithstanding the NYC is up for the task.
It seems that the teachers are major stakeholders, but the students are not major stakeholders because students do not deserve representation at some of these consultations. So I think it's also a major issue that transparency is something that perhaps is a privilege for some and not for others. And it's unfortunate that in our society we see that perhaps we are always the ones to ask and not to be provided.
Labon says the National Youth Council still awaits report assessments, which indicated the 3 schools were of standard to have their doors open back in September. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Solange Alfred.
The opposition St. Lucia Labour Party is clarifying that to date, no decision has been made by the hierarchy of the party regarding selection of an SLP candidate for Gros Islet for the next general election. Therefore, the party says any talk or statement of any kind indicating that a candidate has been chosen by the party is definitely false and says the rumors should be repelled and dismissed as malicious attempts to brew doubt and discord among supporters. Although the general election is constitutionally due in 2021, the Labour Party has indicated that it is leaving no stone unturned and is getting election ready in the event of an early poll. Political leader Philip J. Pierre has publicly disclosed that he is aiming to have all SLP candidates in place by March 2020 as the party prepares St. Lucians to evict the Alain Chastanet regime from power and restore good governance to the country. In the Gros Islet constituency, several citizens have indicated interest in being the SLP's candidate, and they are busy canvassing residents in support of their respective bids. The management committee assures supporters that the selection of the SLP candidate for Gros Islet will be done in an orderly, organized and objective manner and with the participation of the Gros Islet Management Committee in accordance with the party's candidate selection procedures. This is the Hot 7 TV Nightly News. Still to come, the Rastafari community decries the arrest and incarceration of 2 brethren over marijuana seedlings. The dream of owning land is being made a reality for residents of Micoud and Dennery. And 1 in 4 people living with diabetes is undiagnosed. Hear how the St. Lucia Diabetes and Hypertension Association will address this matter. That and more when we return.